The human story. Throughout the school year, my students and I examine this colossal tale, analyzing the highs and the lows of what it means to be part of the human experience. Each day they come to class, they're greeted with images. Some are odd, some intriguing and possibly terrifying, but all meant to spark debate and discussion about what it means to be human. But there's one day as they near graduation when they come into just one simple word. Now, I'll be honest with you, for the most part, they don't pay it a lot of attention. Of course, being teenagers, I get the typical, what about me? But other than that, the room is calm until I do this. And then panic ensues. I'm not even kidding. Guttural sounds leave a few students. I have others who will not look at the board. Once I had a young man who looked up and said, no, as if it was an option. And I mean, I get it. You're 18, 40's terrifying. There's balding, wrinkles, raising teenagers. I mean, it's very scary. But what I don't get is the disconnect between what I get to witness every day, and that's the work and the stress and the struggle and the attention to every detail to ensure their futures, and their less than optimistic outlook on them in that future. Tonight, I want to examine that disconnect. I want to examine its source not just for teens, but for all ages. And perhaps together we can look at a life that looks great, feels great, both on and off paper. So I'm actually going to ask you for a little help. I'm going to ask you to help me out tonight. In the United States, give me some numbers. When do you think happiness fades? What age? Let me hear. 12. Oh, no. Well, let me hear some other numbers. Okay. Woo! We're at some low numbers. You know what? And sadly, you're correct. You know, our teens are not far off to see this in a negative light. According to David Blanchflower, he's an economics professor at Dartmouth College, and he's examined studies of over 6.6 million individuals in the United States. And their findings showed that at age 30, happiness declines and keeps declining throughout adulthood. That's tragic. And that's a serious problem, because especially when our students have spent their lives, and so have our adults, working toward these resumes, hoping to build these lives, and yet happiness is going in the opposite direction. Something's disconnected and something is wrong. To give us a little perspective, I'm going to lean on Tim Urban, bloggist and amazing artist. That's his self-portrait. And he helps me, and hopefully he helps you grasp this a little bit more. Because if I say to a teenager 30, they're like, oh, that's old. It's eons away. Well, really it's not. Because at the end of high school, you have already spent 18 years of your life, 18 of those circles. And if we're looking at happiness declining at 30, well, that's pretty fast, because we're going to be optimists. Right here on this board, you have 90 circles. That's 90 years. And if we're looking at a life that's good, we're hoping that most of those, if not all of those, are ones that have joy and are ones that we're looking forward to. And we know that those 18 years for a lot of students, well, their laser focus has been on this, right? Because you've been told if you go in just enough clubs and you are in just the right sports and you take just enough APs and get all the right A's and you do this just so perfectly, then you'll get in the college, which should get you the job, which will bring you the life. You're good, right? But I got to remember, you need to remember, at some point, you're going to be 40. So I'm hoping you would be excited about that. 50, 60, 80. So we need to take a good look at, no matter what age is looking at aging, no matter where our focus is, where are we going wrong? Now, psychologists, talk about screen time, and we talk about stress at work, stress of raising families, and that could be true. And I'm not pretending to be that kind of expert, but I have had over 20 years witnessing teenagers grow up. I do get to work with them and their families. And I've noticed some patterns along the way that I think can help. The first thing we need to do is realize your wants and your needs. Now, notice I've got two things up here because let me be honest with you all. If I go with my wants, tomorrow I want to stay in PJs all day. I want to drink about 12 cups of coffee, and I want to watch Ted Lasso nonstop. That is not going to be good for me in the long run, right? Because what I need is what's going to bring me joy in the long run. Your needs might be different than mine. But I do know, as I've watched so many students afraid to take risks of anything that's not going to go on that resume, it breaks my heart. I listen to adults who are doing that too. And I think we need to consider what will make us happy that maybe won't go on paper, maybe won't go on your profile. One of the first things that I can't recommend enough to students and to adults, you've got to start pushing some boundaries. I'm not saying rebellion. I'm telling you, you need to get uncomfortable. Okay, yes, I picked a pretty cool picture. Yes, I mean, there's no aspirations of Cirque du Soleil, but for a moment, for a day, I flew through the air. It's not always that grand. At faculty meetings, I make a point that I never sit in the same spot. It's uncomfortable. I sit near someone new. But I've got to tell you, I've learned some of the coolest stories or just had a moment to maybe make me grow. And I ask my students often to pair with someone they normally wouldn't. They'll gravitate toward a friend most times. But think about it. When have you challenged yourself to sort of push outside those boundaries, to exit for a little bit outside that comfort zone, whether it's a large risk, maybe something so easy as when your teacher says, grab a partner, you do go with someone you don't normally work with. I think we need to get ourselves more uncomfortable because we grow. It makes us happy. Getting up on this stage, small things, big things. But to feel like you're living, to find that happiness, you've got to find ways that you take those risks. And that's so important. And it never ends, whether you're 30, whether you're 60, whether you're 90. But as much as I want to tell you to step outside your comfort zone, I think we also neglect a lot of this. That's my crazy little family from Illinois, and it's so easy for me to neglect them too. Because, see, they're always there. They're my comfort. I know they love me. I'll call mom next week. I mean, let's be honest. What phone call gets ignored the most? Say it. Mom does. That's a fact. And I mean, I understand it too. I'm a mom. I'm sure my daughter's going to do that to me very soon. She ignored me today when I texted her. So we need to remember those things that are important. Returning back to home and those basics that are comforts to us, to not take them for granted. Those are needs. Charlotte spoke tonight about something that all of us can do. When it comes to comments online, and Andre spoke about our privilege. I'm not telling you to walk out and protest or anything to that level, but what stereotypes, what's holding you back that you can refute? My whole life, still now, I get told that I'm a girl, that I can't do things because I'm a girl. People will talk to my husband and not talk to me. I've been told so many times that I can't race anymore because I'm too old. So now I'm a girl and now I'm too old. So every time I climb those ropes, every time I beat those obstacles, every time I jump over fire, and I swear to you that flame was so much higher a second ago. My husband loves to make fun of me for that. But it was, I crossed that finish line. It's not for anybody else. I don't post it online. But it's for me. Because every time people tell me that I'm a girl or don't treat me right because I am, or because I'm small, or because I'm older, I'm breaking through that barrier. I'm refuting that stereotype, and it's something I need that makes me happy. And there's one more, and again, maybe your needs are different than mine, but I think a lot of us feel these same needs. I think we all in the room could agree we need to embrace gratitude. Because just like your comforts, it's easy to kind of forget and push this aside. It's easy to take these things for granted. I'm getting a little emotional because I'm feeling very lucky. I have an amazing family, and I have a daughter, and she's incredible, and she's 10, and I know she won't be with us forever, and she'll move on and soon have friends and want to be with them more, and I need to enjoy this time now and be so grateful. And if I fill those needs, that's going to be a pretty great life. But just like a New Year's resolution, I'm not getting out of January unless I take step 2. Motivational icon Tony Robbins talks about what makes somebody successful, and one of the biggest differences he has noticed is nobody wants to do this part. It's where you have to step back and look at your past and be honest with your patterns. Patterns are tough. It's tough to have this conversation with yourself, right? Because I could say I want all those things, but if I look at where I'm spending my time, maybe I'm not the person actually going after those things. So I think it's good to do a little bit of Tim Urban and a little bit of Tony Robbins to get a good realistic grasp on where you are and what you want. Right here I have 365 squares. In the year 2022, I go back and I reflect on my life. And I can be honest in that I may not be perfect, but I'm there as a mom. As a teacher, you may think we get our summers off, but I'm telling you right now, I'm also there too. I take about 2 days off. There they are. They're kind of small, but I do because I love being a teacher and I love working hard for my students. But I'm not honest if I don't show you the next two. Because when I look at my life and I have this hard conversation and I look at my needs, this is one of my best friends. He only lives about 12 miles away. I have no excuse. It's probably hard to see. But in the year 2022, I saw him 3 times. See, those of you right now in school, that's probably hard for you to understand. Your friends are always there, but pretty soon they won't be. I haven't put in the work. I haven't met those needs. What's even worse, one of the most important people in my entire world is my sister. I mean, nobody gets me like her. Last year I saw her 1 day. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I saw her for 2 hours. I've got some work to do. And it's not unless I really look at those patterns and have that honest conversation with myself that I'm going to find happiness and fix this. It's something I love to do. Besides all the ozone she killed, I wonder if the 18-year-old me, would she be proud? And I think she'd be really proud of some of the things I accomplished. I don't know if, New Lenox, Illinois me would realize that she'd be here doing this, but I think she'd be disappointed in some facets of my life for sure. And I want to make her proud, no matter how old I get. And I think that's a good checkpoint for all of you too, no matter your age. So, now what do we do? Well, if I identify the issue and I've taken a good hard look at my actual actions, being the typical teacher I am, I have a little homework for you all. But I hope this is fun homework. And I hope that you truly go home and you try. And you give a little attention to this, maybe tomorrow, maybe this summer. Whether it's 24 squares for 24 days, 24 hours, 24 weeks, I don't care. But I'd like for you to think about your needs. I'd love for you to take a good hard look at your patterns. And then maybe find 1 or 2 small things. Maybe you pick something big. And repeatedly, over and over, you find and plan and work toward meeting those needs and finding those little bits of happiness. And then hopefully, you can continue to build that part of your life that you don't put on paper and you don't post online. But God, it sure feels good on you. And in the end, what I hope is both you and I, that when we get to that age, we've had one amazing human story. Thank you.